Thanks for coming to
You
Tech
told me not
Inclusion,
to
year
put my
3.
phone near here, so.
And we're excited to be here. And thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wanted to take a quick moment this morning just to acknowledge everything is happening in the world right now.
I don't
It's
know
a
where
lot.
to put the garbage.
And
You go ahead.
all right. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now. We just wanted to really acknowledge that at the opening of this and make sure that that we are fully present here and that we're holding other people in our hearts. This is just the last month of things that have been happening. So I wanted to just take a moment, if everybody could just sit for a moment with your eyes closed and just hold those people in your heart for a moment.
He should control that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. How's everybody doing? Good? Welcome. This is our 3rd annual Tech Inclusion Conference, Career Fair, and Startup Showcase. Yesterday we had the Career Fair in the same space here. We had 45 different companies. We had about 2,000 tech candidates. The line was around the corner. It was amazing. So thank you to all the companies that are hiring diverse candidates and that are really working toward diversity and inclusion in your workspaces.
So briefly, we want to kind of talk about what has happened in the tech industry. If you look at this year, the beginning of this year, people was asking, like, do we really still need to have a conversation around diversity and inclusion in tech? And that's basically how I was looking. I was like, yes, we do. And then so much happening from January to now, it's clear that we need to continue to talk about creating an inclusive future for everyone. But there are like 2 stories that you hear. There's the stories of around what's happening in Silicon Valley. And as you saw that, with Change Catalyst and with Tech Inclusion, we've been going across the country. And there's the stories that we hear in Silicon Valley, the stories we hear, everything from, I don't want to call it any particular companies, but like sexual harassment, a lot of just bad energy that shouldn't happen. But there's also positive stories happening as well. But in Silicon Valley, we've been saying, hey, everything is fine, but it's not, in some cases. But in any case, this is what we do. We focus on creating an inclusive culture. We do that through consulting, training, toolkits, startup. We have a startup fellows program later today at 1:30. There will be 6 companies pitching on the breakout stage. We also have conferences and career fairs. But why we do this? We do this because we want to, with all the negative stories, we do this because this is a story that press is telling. This is a story around that there's only, this is a story around the sexual harassment that's happening in the industry. This is a story around the lack of conversation around race in the tech industry, and then the story around gender and inequality with women in the tech industry as well.
So I'm sure some of you know the statistics around women. 40% of women leave tech within the first 4 years. This is why we do this. We do this because the number of women in computer science actually peaked, earning computer science degrees actually peaked in 1984, and it's been going down ever since. And you can see the difference as the medicine and physical sciences are continuing to increase, but we are, as an industry, decreasing there. While great statistics on African Americans and Latinx, more are learning tech, and we're at about 19% of all computer science degrees are earned by African Americans and Latinx. The problem is that they're not actually being hired by the tech industry. And it's worse for people with disabilities. We often leave people with disabilities out of the conversation around diversity and inclusion. Just over 1/3 of people with disabilities with science and engineering degrees do not have employment. And it's bad for pretty much everybody who's underrepresented in tech. And so we focus at Tech Inclusion, at Change Catalyst, we focus all across a diverse spectrum. So looking at all genders, racial and ethnic minorities, LGBTQIA, veterans, anybody over 35, people with disabilities, and others that are underrepresented due to socioeconomic status, location, education, religion. And why the tech industry?
And as you all know, the tech industry, tech impacts everything we do. I look at, every company is a tech company. You look at financial institutions like Capital One, Visa, they're not financial companies, they're a tech company. And so tech impacts everything. Products and services, we know must work for everyone. There's a huge wealth and opportunity gap in America. Jobs, under the Obama administration, put up a report that it was over 500,000 unfulfilled tech jobs. That number's increased. And so like we said, we had the career fair yesterday. There is no pipeline problem for underrepresented candidates, but we have to fill these tech jobs. Innovation should happen beyond a homogeneous group. And as we saw clearly with the election, that companies that from this industry impacts how we digest and receive and influence our decision making when it comes to news and politics. So the tech industry is why we must focus on creating an inclusive culture and ecosystem for everyone. But has the data changed, the diversity in tech? We've been talking, doing this conference now for year 3, and the numbers, give or take here and there, have increased, some by gender, some by race. But overall, we really have seen a very small increase about the numbers. But I would love for us to really go away from how we measure and report these numbers. We have a panel later today around media responsibility in telling this story. And we're going to talk about, should we consider changing to talking about more inclusive cultures and retention versus just 3%, 2%, and so forth. But yeah. So inclusion in Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, beyond. As you've seen via the video, we have been across the country. We have a couple more cities to go later this year, but amazing stories, positive stories have been coming out of those events, and we decided to share some of that energy, some of those lessons with you all throughout the conference.
So our motto at Change Catalyst and Tech Inclusion is to focus on solutions. So we talked just a little bit about the problems, and we'll talk a little bit about the problems throughout the two days that we're together. But the majority of the discussions will focus on solutions. How do we really create change? How do we make this a better industry, a more inclusive industry? We have spent years looking at how to create change in the industry, and we really have realized that it's a whole ecosystem issue. So how many of you all are from the education space? Awesome. Okay, and how many of you all are from the workplace tech companies? Okay, great. And entrepreneurs, investors? Awesome. How about policymakers? Okay,
I see one.
Okay, awesome. And they'll be here later today and tomorrow. And then how many consider yourselves ecosystem developers, really looking at the whole big picture? Awesome. Okay, so we're all here together to really help create change. And the conference is designed that way. The work that we do is designed that way.
Yeah. So solutions. People say that this work is not hard. Yeah, it's emotional. It's personal, but it can be simple. Self-care, budgets, leaders, education, action, funding, empathy, hope. We do this work because we know it's needed. We do this work because we care about it. We do this work because we care about people. But these are some of the solutions.
And we're on a journey. We started 3 years ago with our first conference. We thought it was a one-off thing. We thought we were just going to do it and then move on and do the other things that we were working on. And we sold out at the conference. We sold out at the career fair. So many positive results came out of that first event that we continued. Last year we did 5 events. This year we're doing 10 events, and we're continuing to grow on our journey. And we're just getting started, so want to invite you all to continue on the journey with us, and to thank our sponsors and actually some of our volunteers that have traveled with us throughout several of the cities that we've gone to and we're continuing to go to. Please join us.
So welcome to the 3rd Annual Tech Inclusion Conference, and give yourselves a round of applause.
Awesome. Just a few things to keep in mind. We're going to talk about diversity and inclusion, and want to make sure that there's a distinction in our minds around that the diversity is really helping bring people together from different backgrounds to the table. Inclusion is about inviting them to speak. Inclusion is encouraging them to lead those conversations, that action, that leadership that really helps develop a more inclusive tech industry from the start. Just some of the things that we've been working on and really understanding what inclusion is internally in ourselves and also internally in companies and internally in the industry, externally in the industry. One is welcoming. That's obviously the first component of inclusion, but then it's also feeling safe, being engaged, committing to being here, and belonging. So really opening that up, that discussion around inclusion. So with that, a few ground rules. Please be fully present and give attention. There are lots of, because we're inviting people to speak that have never spoken before often, please give your full presence to them. And that means really outwardly showing that you care, that you're listening, that you're understanding and hearing them. Because it's tough to be on this stage for the first time, right? So this is a safe space as well. We have a code of conduct right in front and also on the app and online. The third is it's important to get uncomfortable, right, to create change. So take some risks, ask questions, and open yourself up to new ideas and build on each other's ideas. Really, really allow yourself to create change within yourself. Make space for the quiet ones, lots of introverts. I'm an introvert, Wayne's an introvert, really holding space for people to really...
Super introvert.
And then take care of yourself. Lots of coffee. Thank you, Google for Entrepreneurs. We have 2 coffee carts available out there, water, restroom, and have fun. Let yourself have fun with all of this as well. Have good conversations, create change. We have learned a lot about building inclusive events, and we're still learning. So some of the things that we do have here to note is a mother's room. So outside these doors to the side, and you'll see signs to the mother's room. We have all people restrooms. We have ASL interpreters here and throughout the day on each stage. We also have live cart captioning. So this is not a robot. This is a real person on the other end. And that person, they all say hi. We also have volunteer guides if you need a guide. We have we have volunteer guides. If you need a guide, please let us know at registration, or just let any of the staff know. Vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, etc. There's ingredients on the labels of all the food. We use local vendors and local small businesses. That's really important to us as a B Corp, as a benefit corporation. We really look at our supply chain diversity as well. That's key. And then much more behind the scenes. But those are some of the things that you can be aware of as you go throughout the day. And with that,
We have one more thing. Can't do this event without our amazing sponsors and partners. We'd like to really thank our presenting sponsor, Google for Entrepreneurs. Give them a round of applause, please. Google for Entrepreneurs. Mary, Nicole, Sarah Beth, the team, Jenna, Danny, thank you all. Credit Karma is a happy hour sponsor. We have a policy track sponsored by Comcast. We also have an ability and tech track focused on people with hidden invisible disabilities. That's sponsored by Kaiser Permanente and Sprint. And some other sponsors that really help make this event happen: LiveRamp, Mandela, Expedia, Airbnb, Automatic, Twitter, NVIDIA, Twilio, Liftoff, Reddit, Oracle, Clover, Microsoft, Samsung Next, Repertoire, amazing AV company, and the Coffin Foundation, and a Printout. So really, we want to thank all our sponsors. Give our sponsors a round of applause, please.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here and in being a part of creating change in the industry and really working toward inclusion.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
So I'm going to go to the back. I see y'all throughout the conference. Thank you all. Please tweet, #TechInclusion.